In a year of momentous happenings, 2002 was a year of disaster, war and hostage-taking. In March, Operation Anaconda, the US-led battle to overthrow Taliban and al-Qaeda forces in Afghanistan, was declared officially over.
The world's a safer place than it was on the 2nd of March when we inserted several thousand coalition forces, including soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, that put their lives on the line to confront al-Qaeda and Taliban terrorists. Hundreds of terrorists died. Unfortunately, 11 of our coalition warriors and heroes also died.
The focus then shifted to a guerrilla war, as small bands of fighters from Afghanistan's hardline Islamic Taliban movement and Saudi-born militant Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network tried to evade the Allied forces. The German resort of Lake Constance was the scene of a massive disaster when 71 people, including 52 children, died after a Russian passenger plane traveling from Moscow to Barcelona collided with a cargo plane over this picture postcard region of southern Germany. There were no casualties on the ground, even though police said they found pieces of wreckage in 57 different places. Witnesses saw a fireball and debris was scattered over an area of about 5 square kilometers around Überlingen, a resort town of 20,000. The Russian children, who were mainly from the oil-rich region of Bashkortostan, some 1,500 kilometers east of Moscow, had been heading to Barcelona for a UNESCO festival. Airline officials said many of the passengers on the flight had the same surname, indicating families lost more than one relative. Russia was the scene of more momentous happenings of 2002 when security forces were deployed outside a theatre in Moscow where a self-titled Chechen suicide squad held hundreds of people hostage after killing one woman who tried to escape. The bold guerrilla attack in the Russian capital, carried out by up to 40 heavily armed men and women seeking a Russian troop withdrawal from their homeland, defied the world community and dealt a humiliating blow to the Kremlin. The guerrillas, armed with guns, grenades and explosives, held Russian security forces at bay by threatening to blow up the theatre and their 700 captives if an attempt was made to storm it. At dawn 3 days later, Russian special forces stormed the theatre and used gas to knock out the Chechen guerrillas. Up to 90 hostages died, along with most of their rebel captors, though more than 750 people who had been held for the 3 days by the heavily armed Muslim guerrillas were rescued. In freezing rain, the hostages were ferried quickly out of the theatre, many to hospital and away from waiting journalists. The Muslim rebels, who had rigged up explosives throughout the building, had threatened to start killing their hostages early on Saturday if they did not see evidence their demands that Moscow's troops pull out of Chechnya were being met. 13 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, the European Union executive said former communist East European states such as Poland and Hungary were ready to compete inside the EU's single market following long and painful economic and social reforms. In December, 10 European Union candidate countries received a green light to join the 15-nation bloc in 2004, paving the way for a historic unification of Europe. As Brazil headed into the finals against Germany in the World Cup, world-renowned psychic Uri Geller made public his prediction of who was going to win the World Cup. Geller had buried 2 small rock crystals under the artificial lawn, which he said served as tools for him to predict the World Cup winners. He had spent about half an hour in the stadium before making his prediction, outside in front of the stadium clock. He said that after spending enough time in the stadium and using the crystals as amplifiers, he knew which team would take the trophy home.
My prediction is this. My 3rd day here at the stadium, my true intuitive forces tell me that Brazil will win the World Cup.
Brazil went on to win the tournament for a record 5th time, beating Germany 2-0 in the final. 2002, another year of momentous happenings.